I am gaming. I am gaming. I am gaming podcast.
Hi everyone, my name is Ivica. Thank you so much for being on the latest episode of I Am Gaming Podcast. Before we start, or I start talking about this week's topic, which is the dilemma between bigger exposure and more profit, or a bigger profit cut when you're selling any kind of digital project, I just want to give a big shout out to my two newest patrons. Thank you so much to Direboard Games, a super cool indie development studio. Check out the links in the description below. It already has a really ambitious indie adventure, point and click adventure called Reality Incognita available on Steam, and currently the same studio is working on a really cool new game that will take you directly to the world of indie comics and everything you need to know or do if you want to have a successful indie comic in a virtual world. So that's going to be a really cool game as well. Check out Direboard Games below, and also check out Kidney Cowboy Twitch stream, a really cool content creator and gamer from Texas, USA, who you love, especially if you're into games like World of Warships. Both links are in the description below. Thank you to both for supporting my podcast. The link for my Patreon is in the description below. If you like to do the same, pitch a buck or two, I would be immensely grateful. Now, let's talk about this super big dilemma, which is something that everyone who deals with content creation and selling of digital projects, I say content creation in the broadest possible sense, so it doesn't matter if you're writing books, selling online seminaries, creating digital art, creating whole games or even videos. Everything is a digital product that you're placing on a particular marketplace. Now, when you choose that marketplace, then the devil comes out, and that devil is always in the detail. In my view, that detail usually boils down, the single most important detail, to the issue whether you want to get more exposure or a bigger profit cut. Now, this is rarely something you're served with from the same platform directly, but when you break it down, it usually again boils down to this basic problem. So let's say that you have a indie game you want to sell. Options you have at your disposal are immense. So you have your big platforms like Steam or Epic Games. You have even more options if you want to go with mid-tier distributors like itchy.io and many other platforms. When you do this, or when you sell a different kind of digital product, you will basically get access to that platform's marketplace, which means all of their users. At the same time, you will get a particular profit cut from each one of those. Now, Steam became notorious in recent years because it slowly came to the surface that it provides a not so fair cut to the game developers, at least when compared to other platforms, especially the rising ones, like for example the Discord video game marketplace, which is currently struggling, but still it, along with Epic Games marketplace or store, did find a place for their service, thanks to the fact that Steam stopped being the alpha dog, the ultimate alpha dog for the PC market. You might think that the biggest dilemma you have is to find the marketplace that provides you with the biggest profit cut. So if you're selling your game for 10 bucks, it's clearly better to get 8 bucks or 9 bucks from every sale than 7 or 6, which is true. However, the more important thing, at least in my view, is the ability to sell your products, not actually to make a profit from each individual sale. Let me take you to a little journey into the past. Of my first book I started selling, or I wanted to sell, as an ebook. I had many options, but the most dominant one was clearly Amazon Kindle, and I decided to go with it. I uploaded the book and started selling it. Of course, it went terribly bad because I had no exposure, nobody knew about it. Every means of my promotion was too weak to actually give any results apart from really accidental sales. However, when I talked with my friend who was back then working in the tobacco industry, I know not the biggest and best reputation might have, he asked me this question, which I didn't consider at all. His question was, what does Amazon provide me with which helps me make better sales? Because in his perspective, this was all that's important. How to get more sales from that particular vendor or provider of the marketplace. The main thing about Amazon Kindle is the promotions it allows you to have if you enroll in Kindle Unlimited. So if you're selling your books only on that platform, Kindle will allow you to have 5 free days when you sell your book for free each 90 days. So now when I have 4 titles, I use these free days for each title every week. So in a month I use up 4 of my potential 5 days from each book, meaning that each book is left with 4 additional free days. This was a game changer for me. Now my book sales are still pretty low, but they're incredibly better than when I started. And this is the lesson. Always go for more exposure when compared to the dilemma, will that make me a bit more or a bit less money, especially if you're starting out. If you're starting out, your product is basically completely unknown. You need to get that recognition however you can, even if it's really poor one, even if it's something based on mediocre or bad reviews. All of that is better than no reviews, no downloads, no sales whatsoever. Amazon is a good example because it's really transparent in its ability to provide you with exposure. It might not be spectacular exposure, but it's still something. You need to look for the same options on any other platform. There are always means to get more exposure. If you're a bigger product, you can even negotiate directly. If you get that opportunity, in my experience, it's better to focus on getting more exposure. If you do that constantly, you will compensate any potential initial bigger benefit you'd get from more money from each sale on its own. Because remember, a bigger percent from 0 is still 0. This means that you have to fight to get to a percent that is not 0, and from that point on you can think about actual revenue and how to boost it as well. Later on down the road you can change your services. You can, for example, in my case, if my books suddenly became super famous, I could always think about moving them from Amazon Kindle and selling them directly from my website. However, that scenario would include me being a household name, at least in some circle of my targeted demographics. I'm really far from that. By the way, if you want to check out some of my books, a link is in the description below, so give it a look, and if you're interested in one, please buy it. So, if we take the problem of more exposure versus a bigger profit cut and we place it in a situation where every other factor is similar, the amount of people using a platform, its ability to upscale you, and any other factor, the answer is clear. Always go for more exposure, because that actually provides you with that revenue, with your audience getting in touch with your product, and everything good and nice you want as a seller of digital goods, services, or information. Actually, with digital, everything is selling information in ones and zeros, which then takes the form of some other digital product, work of art, or anything else. But let's not go into these cyberpunk details. Remember, when you're negotiating, when you're finding and looking for providers of marketplaces, look for exposure. That was all I had for this episode. It wasn't a long one, it was more on a technical side, so no psychology or motivation this time around. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll get to be my listener on my new episodes as well. If you're interested in that, please subscribe, and please consider checking out my Patreon and pitching in $1 or $2. As I said, it would mean a whole deal to me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. There's not much to watch, and hopefully I'll see you on my new video, and especially on the new I Am Gaming podcast episode. Until then, my name is Ivica. Have a great day and bye bye.